is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, sponsored by a live credit union.
Welcome back to the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 studio for another edition of Fleet and Footy. As you may have noticed, Stuart Webber is not sitting across from me at the table. It is currently U23 women's head coach David Gough. How are you, David?
Hiya, mate. I'm very good.
I know I just called you David there. I will not be calling you that the rest of the episode. It feels wrong to do that. I will now be referring to you by your nickname, Goughy, for everyone who does not know. Stuart, for everyone that does not know and hasn't seen him on Action Sports Jack 24/7, is currently a little bit further south, enjoying some sun, looking great over there.
Hey, man, this is the first time we've kind of taken me on the road. I remember we had you in an airport one time for one of the shows early on in Fleet and Footy. So we get me out here at TPC Sawgrass, the stadium course, site of the Players' Championship. Of course, we've had coverage all week long, and we'll continue through Sunday as the golf world crowns the champion here of the Players. But you know what? We're taking a little time out. We're talking some soccer talk. We got Goughy the Gaffer in the studio with you there. So, we had to bring in some reinforcements just because, we knew that I'd be out here, I'd be remote, and my mind might be a little sideways thinking about golf and who's at the top of the leaderboard and what shows we got to do and all that kind of stuff. So excited to kind of bring you this hour of Fleet and Footy. How we doing over there, gentlemen?
Great to see you, mate. It looks wonderful backdrop there. It's great to be here.
Gough, I specifically wanted to pick you out for this episode because Stuart's gone. We needed some of that soccer knowledge. You've been in the game for so long. Can you just take us through how you kind of hopped the pond over here and got yourself to the United States?
Yeah, I mean, 25th year, I think, mate, coming up. So there's a little bit of a celebration. But yeah, I mean, look, I love playing. I wanted to be a player so badly. I was an okay player, but I had no pace. I had a good first touch, I was told, but I had no pace. So once I realised I wasn't going to play for Man United, I started to coach instead, and that's the train I've been on really for the last 2 decades, I would say, mate.
Well, what was your first job over here in the United States to get started?
Well, I came to the States in 2015, and I literally started from scratch. So we moved to Arkansas, and 2 youth clubs were merging. I took over one of those youth clubs. And I worked for about a year and a half in youth soccer in the US, my first introduction to youth soccer, seeing what it was like. Shortly after that, I joined the Arkansas Razorbacks, Woo Pig Suey. I became a Razorback and got into the college game, yeah. So that was my start really in Arkansas.
And then, obviously, you made your way on after Arkansas to the pro level at NWSL, the Kansas City currently.
Yeah.
But the original name of the team was FC Kansas City. How did you get involved in such a big organization like that and early on in the NWSL?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, but I think soccer is still a relatively small world. So after about 12, 15 months of being here, I started to make some good connections and speak to some more people, and actually reached out to a fantastic guy, Matt Briggs, who was the academy manager at Kansas City at the time. Had a lunch with Matt, and it was clear that we hit it off straight away. He's still a great friend of mine. Our philosophies were aligned, and we talked about work we could do together, and that eventually led to me joining the first team coaching setup with Vlad Gwandanovsky, and I had a great year. Wonderful time in the league, mate, traveling the entire length and breadth of the country, and yeah, we did okay on the pitch. Unfortunately, we had Amy Rodriguez as star striker, World Cup winning Olympic gold medalist, and she got injured in the very first game, so we didn't quite make up the standings in the league. But the year in the NWSL was fantastic. Yeah, great experience.
We
brought me back up there, by the way. Sorry, boys.
Hey, there you go.
We got it going. We got me back up here. So I'll jump in and ask a question here for Goughy related to coming over here to coach and be part of the soccer system in the United States. Obviously, the sport is so much more established, and the tradition overseas is tremendous. How much do players and coaches on that side of the pond really see everything going on in the United States as an opportunity for them, as far as being able to not only grow the game, but an opportunity for them to go and continue as part of it?
I think it's changed, mate, to be honest. I think if you go back a decade or so, maybe 15 years ago, it was different. Now I think it's a real career choice. I think a lot of people look at the United States now as an opportunity to work at a high level. Great weather, fantastic support. You only got to look at what's happened in the MLS and the NWSL in recent years. But I think maybe 10, 15 years ago, you'd have said it was a bit of an obscure choice. A lot of people said to me when I left in 2015 and I left the England national team as well to come here, they said, what are you doing? That's not a good move for your career. But I think from my point of view, you could see even 10 years ago what the sport was going to be here. We're in a great purple patch right now with the World Club Championship coming and the World Cup coming the year after. And I think, it's really nice to see that, as you say that, because for me, it was a way to put high-level elite sport and a family life and be a dad together, which I couldn't do if I'd stayed in the UK. So, it was real 24-hour-a-day work. It was 7 days a week, and you make a choice to be in the Premier League or get into the Premier League at any level. And you have to make sacrifices. And for me, I wanted to bring those two a little bit closer together. So now, 2025, I think it's a legit choice. I think people from all around the world are looking at what's happening here in the States.
You mentioned the sunshine there a little bit.
Yeah.
You came down to Jacksonville. What made you make that transition and come down to kind of a different area for you of the country?
Yeah, well, Wales is a beautiful country, and it's bordered on three sides by the sea. So Arkansas is landlocked in 9 hours every direction, and there's nowhere near a sea breeze. So the opportunity came to come to Florida and be closer to the beach and closer to the sea. And, for the kids, it was a fantastic life they could have. So made the move, came down, actually lived here twice. I went on loan to OU in Oklahoma for 2 years in the middle of it and came back again just a couple of years ago. And Gough Village and St. Augustine is the area we've kind of landed in, and Jacksonville's where we spend all our time. So, yeah, absolutely love it, mate. The beach, the weather, the people, the sport, everything you want is right here.
When we think about that first year in the WPSL for the Armada women's under-23 team, what kind of expectations did you have going into it? Did it kind of meet what you were expecting from those conversations you had to kind of bring you here in the first place versus what ended up being on the field?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a difference in how it looks in your mind and how you plan it and how it happens in real life. That's the allure of soccer, isn't it? That's what we love. But, having conversations with Nathan, the president, and people around the club before I joined, it was clear that this was a place I wanted to be. I'd been waiting probably 10, 15 years to lead a program and run a program, and had many, many ideas that I tested and tried. And, probably 5 or 6 years ago was at the stage where I thought I got to do this for myself now. And the Armada gave me the opportunity to do that. And I would say, yeah, probably 70, 80% of the stuff we set out to do, we achieved, which is a really good start. Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit there that you had some transition periods. You were in Jacksonville at this point, but how did you get the job to be an assistant coach of Jamaica national women's team? Because that's got to be one of the more random things. You come from Wales, come to the United States, and then I'll get a job with Jamaica.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you travel, when you put yourself outside, I had a great career in the UK and obviously working with England and everything else. But I think when you put yourself outside your comfort zone, you're prepared to take yourself outside of the bubble sometimes. You open yourself up to amazing things that can happen, Lou, honestly. I would never have dreamed of being a coach of Jamaica. A guy I worked with, Hubert Busby Jr., phenomenal guy, got the head coaching job, and I was his first phone call. And in I went. My second international team, very different to the FA in England, I got to say, but also probably a bit more closer to me in my heart in the way that Welsh people are. The Jamaicans are phenomenal people, super resilient, love their soccer, love their music, love their culture. I won't do the Jamaican accent, I won't do it a disservice, but they seem to enjoy me as much as I seem to enjoy being around them. So that was my first stint with them. Just before the pandemic hit, actually. It was very difficult to navigate international football, obviously through COVID and everything else. But yeah, a great couple of years there, and a little exclusive for you. I'm actually going to go back in April and coach them again. So
wow, look at that, Stuart.
Second
Fleet
stint,
Footy exclusive.
Drop that on the show for you. Yeah.
I like it. And Goughy, we won't try to do your accent either. So don't worry about that. We won't try and try our Welsh accent out. I do want to ask you, if people have been listening the last couple of minutes, we've rattled off a lot of different stops, right? International stops, college stops, developmental stops, obviously here in Jacksonville. How different or how similar are those different types of soccer that you're coaching? Because you think about an international team from a college or a U23 team, it feels like it's all sorts of different levels, but a lot of it is probably the same principles that you guys are trying to coach through.
Yeah, I mean, the game is the game. Like it is. It's football, soccer, whatever you call it, is the game. There's obviously different idiosyncrasies and, things different terminologies and things. I had to learn a whole new vocabulary when I came here to the United States. But I think ultimately,
y'all, did you have to learn the word y'all?
Yeah, y'all. I never forget this. Like, first of all, I got this the first player I ever got in front of me. A dad was describing the young daughter, and he described her as she's got a big leg. And I'm picturing in my mind, like, what's going on here? Like, is it two different sized legs or what's going on? He meant she could boot the ball quite far, so she was good, But I had to learn these terminologies as I went. But, yeah, look, like every player in the world, whether they're international, whether they're U23 semi-pro, whether they're a youth player, college player, anything, they want to be treated with a certain level of respect. And I think, my philosophy, if I've had any success, has been to put that first and then hopefully come in with technical, tactical knowledge that they feel is valuable. And the more relevant they feel you are to making them better, the more buy-in you're going to get. And that's probably what the success, if I've had any, has been built on, yeah.
The current setup right now for you while we're in the Armada offseason is coaching JFC. You also did coach the England U17 team. How is that approach a little bit different, teaching the younger ones? I know you said that respect there, but I always feel like there's another level to it, especially now watching it on that MLS Next level. There is a different coaching approach. Can you talk to the specifics of that?
Yeah, that's a great point, mate. The higher up the levels you go and you start talking about international football, especially that age, they're about to sign, if they haven't already, their first professional contract at... We had players this summer in the World Cup, 17s World Cup at Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, all the Champions League teams represented. And, I think the relevance is the key, really. You got to come in with something that they feel, that they can see. You can't be too far into the future about what will happen for their career. You got to be very in the moment. And I think you got to have evidence. Nowadays, everything needs to be backed up by video. Buy-in is super important. You got to frame every concept you're talking about. But if you do that well, I think you do get this generation of player to really buy in. And what you're trying to get them to do, Lou, is you're trying to get them to invest in their own career. You want them to have a top career. Like in 5 years' time, some of these names who've played in this Under-17 World Cup will be discussed on shows like this as superstars. So you're trying to prep them for that, but at the same time, you're trying to encourage them to be all they can be because they don't quite know yet what their ceiling will be,
We're kind of jumping around a little bit, but that is the nature of this business with some of these interviews. I want to touch on the two young ladies from Wales that joined us last summer in Chloe Chivers and Tate Trevette, and just how cool that was for you to be able to bring those two outstanding soccer players, but also fantastic young ladies over here to be part of this program last summer. And I mean, look, if you've seen our promo videos for Fleet and Footy and for anything Armada related, we're taking advantage of those blasts from Chloe Chivers. I mean, she had a couple highlight reel goals. I mean, just to be able to have those two young ladies on this roster last year, what did that mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's special, isn't it? Personally, obviously, try and give opportunities to kids from Wales. Some of the opportunities that I've had, that's close to my heart. I think for me, it was more of a cultural thing in terms of our American players perhaps learning a little bit about, how deep-rooted the culture of soccer is in Wales and in the UK, and especially in Wales in recent decades. We've hit the major world stage on the men's side. We've just qualified for our first ever female major tournament in the Euros. We played America in the last World Cup in Qatar, didn't we? Got a nice amicable draw, which I was really pleased about. But I think there's lessons to be learned and brought over there, but then there's also what the American players can teach the Welsh players, in terms of the athleticism and how we go about the game here and playing in this heat and everything else. And I think it was just a great experience. You mash all that together. We have international players from Europe, from Wales, from other areas. And I think that's what made us a bit of a melting pot and definitely won us extra points in the WPSL last year for sure.
You touched on some of those players, getting to learn from those older girls. We actually discussed Stella Jones on the show. She had a great season with Bishop Kenny. Girls like Landry Bauer entering the fray of the U23 Armada women's team. How do you think that their summers with you affect their careers moving forward and going into college?
I'd love to think that they gain confidence for sure. I don't think they're the type of players who needed to gain any confidence, if I'm honest. I think they know how good they can be. But I think what the summer showed was how ready they are. What was really, really impressive about Stella and Landry especially was the amount of minutes they got and the influence they had on the pitch. Landry was 14 years old, playing in under-23 league. I mean, how special is that? Local players, we don't need to look outside of our market for top talent. So really, really excited about them. Excuse me. They'll both come back this year. We'll both be retained, and we'll really look forward to what they'll do on the pitch. And as I say, for the local fans coming to watch players from the local area, that's exactly what our remit is about as Armada, but also my philosophy in terms of bringing through young players. I think if you're good enough, you're old enough, and they proved that, both of them.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, Northeast Florida, when it comes to women's soccer and girls soccer, the amount of talent that has come through this area it's ridiculous. I mean, not just when we're talking about high school. I mean, we had 3 local state champions, obviously St. John's Country Day, Barton Trail, and Ponte Vedra all go out there and win state titles, but Bishop Kenny and Episcopal make great runs as well. Creekside with a terrific season. These teams are stocked with talent, and they're going on to go play at these major college soccer programs and go on to play for the U.S. women's national team. I mean, goalkeeper Mandy McGlynn doing that, as well as Carson Pickett. Where does all that start in your estimation when you talk about being able to build up this great base of players in one region? What kind of gets that ball rolling for an area?
Well, the truth is we have some really good people working in soccer here in Florida. And they've been doing it for a long, long time. That I could name them, but there's a lot of people working, as you say, at those programs, those schools, the youth clubs. We mentioned JFC earlier. There's a phenomenal program there as well, and it isn't just one person. It isn't just me or anyone else. It's we all kind of live in that ecosystem, and I think sometimes we forget. Like, Florida's a soccer state. Like, we're a little bit, we don't toot our horn well enough at times. We have FSU, we have the Gators, especially on the women's side. They're leading the way, FSU, in terms of recent years in the national championship at college.
Unfortunately, we need the Gators. Yeah. We got to pick it back up over there in Gainesville. We got to get it going.
I've spent some time down there. I've seen their coaches. They'll be back. They're building something down there as well. They've got the facilities. They're building something. But high school level, we have phenomenal players at high school level. We have great players at youth level in ECNL. We, obviously a lot of them come through and play in our team at the Armada. But I think we have Messi here. We have soccer here. Everywhere you look, Florida has soccer, and Orlando Pride, NWSL double champions. First time ever. And I think from my perspective, it's all massed into one, mate. It's people are watching more soccer, they're playing more soccer. People want to coach the game. Why shouldn't that be, in Florida? Why shouldn't that start in Florida? Why shouldn't there be a seismic shift in what happens in the game here? And I think with the World Club Championship coming next year on the men's side for FIFA, we'll continue to see that rise.
I really do want to talk about that first historic U23 women's season. We're in Women's History Month.
Yeah.
So definitely want to touch on some key moments throughout the season. That first game, I know it was away, so it wasn't quite the impact that home game had, I'm sure, on you, with all the fans, over 2,000 plus at Southern Oak Stadium. Yeah. But that first game, with that first starting 11, that first 18, that first away trip, can you just tell me all those emotions and the feelings just going into that?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it was special. It was special. And I've coached the stadiums with 40, 50,000 people, but on a different level, this was really special to me because, you build a roster from scratch, you embed a philosophy, you try and put something out on the pitch, but ultimately when the whistle blows, you want to win that first game and you really want to start well and gain a momentum. And, there's pressure. There's pressure for the players, there's pressure for the staff, there's pressure for everybody involved, especially in an inaugural season. So, yeah, lots of emotions swirling around. I was really pleased when the game started because of all the work that had gone on leading up to it, if I'm honest. I was really pleased with how the game started, and a fantastic moment, obviously, Paige McSwiggan scoring the first goal in franchise history, and a wonderful goal at that. That's something she'll always have, to be able to tell, local player again, UNF player, she's going to be able to have that forever. And I think to win the game 3-0, to keep a clean sheet, to come away from the first game in franchise history that way, if you were asking me the night before as I dreamt it up, that's probably how it went, mate, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that was a tremendous result on the road. And Lou mentioned the great crowd, the big crowd that came out and supported the home opener. To see that, you kind of can expect it a little bit just from what you're told from the men's side. But then you just don't know, right? You don't know. Are they going to come out and support this team the same way? And Section 904 in this community come out and do just that.
Well, I tell you something, I'll never miss an opportunity to shout out to Section 904. What a phenomenal fan base. I saw a social media post recently that someone was making a big, huge sign saying that the girls had arrived. And it was them making it through the night, and they're making it with friends, and they're all like in a garage somewhere just making this unbelievable sign. And I'll never forget that sign. When I walked out, the smoke bombs are going off. Someone's got a little Wales flag in the corner as well. That wasn't unmissed. But I think just the welcome we had, the way that they just didn't stop singing throughout the entire match, and the players felt it. I remember saying in my first ever halftime speech that this feels like a real football club, and this feels like a proper football environment, and you don't get that all the time. You don't have that everywhere. Every game we went to away, we didn't see anything like that in the WPSL. We are far and away the best supported, the most engaged and endearing fans. And I'd been to the men's games, I'd seen it, and I was really impressed with it. Love going to watch the men's team play. Tommy does an amazing job. Any chance I get to be around Tommy, I'll take it. And ultimately, for us, it's about taking a little bit of that magic. And we see it everywhere. We see it in the women's club game. We see it in the domestic game. The fans are coming out in force. They're not just supporting players anymore. For the first time, I'd say people are getting behind teams. And that's when you see the real fandom and the real rivalries. And that's when leagues kick on. And we're seeing that, week in, week out for us in the WPSL, and then wider in the NWSL and everywhere else around the country.
We mentioned Chloe Chivers. We mentioned that first game.
Yeah, what a goal.
I had to ask.
Well, I mean, look, it was obvious Chloe had a cannon of both feet, in fact.
A really big leg, as the guy in Arkansas.
There you go. That was a really big leg. There you go. We actually tried to shoot from kickoff every game. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but I thought it was a moment.
Noticed.
I thought it was a moment we could get on ESPN Top 10 if one of them went in. She got close a couple of times. I just thought it was a nice little nuance. But yeah, what a hit! I mean, a free kick. She scored one later on in the season from open play as well, just as good. And I think these are the moments when you look behind the goal and there's 40, 50 Section 904 supporters just, singing and banging drums, and then that ball ripples. It's the sound of the ball hitting the net. It's everything that soccer is, isn't it? And I've worked really hard with the girls to try and get them to celebrate a bit more, because there's a tendency in women's football to just double jump and run back to the halfway line and prepare for the kickoff and just be ordered and nice. And you got to enjoy those 10 seconds, those 15 seconds of unadulterated joy. You've got to get behind it. And I think we did a good job of that with the girls running to the corners and getting together and joining in. And it's all part of the spectacle, isn't it? It's all part of the spectacle and all part of the show that needs to be there if you're going to be a successful team.
Goughy, I can tell you, we absolutely celebrated those goals in the broadcast booth. So don't you worry about that. We made sure to jump around and have a good time in that broadcast booth every time those ladies put it in the back of the net. So that was a whole lot of fun. So we talk about all these things that certainly went well in year one. Now that you've had a chance to kind of look back, what do you want to do different? What do you want to fix? What do you want to make better for year number two for the Jacksonville Armada women?
Well, we got a big focus this year on continuing the stuff we did well. Huge family focus. I thought one of our major staples last year was, I don't know if anyone knows this, but every time we got together as a group, whether it was training session or game, one or two of the players in the squad or the staff would share their story of how they started this game, how they fell in love with soccer, how they came to be at the Armada, whatever it was. And those stories became a bit legendary as the season wore on. We were expecting it, waiting for it. It was almost as highly anticipated as training was at one point. We had tears, we had laughter, we had connections being made. And I think that sums up our group, our staff, our team. We want to continue to build on that. We will continue to build on that. We want to evolve on the pitch. We want to play more soccer. We've got some interesting tactics that we draw down, and I'm forever watching soccer and trying to stay on top of the trends in the game right now. We're going to see a lot of tactics you might see in the Champions League. You're going to see a lot of stuff on the field. We're not just going to hoof the ball. That's really important. But ultimately, I want to win the league. And I don't mind saying it. Like we are well resourced. We are well prepared. We've got great players. We've got a fantastic staff. Ron Messick, our assistant manager, does an unbelievable job. People don't see the work that he does behind the scenes, keeping the train on the tracks, talking to the players, keeping me on track. I can be from time to time I can be a bit wayward, but he just does such a great job. He's a fantastic part of the staff for me. This year as well, we're bringing in Jed Bowman, another young coach from the local area. Jed's super, played for the Armada on the men's side. He's going to join us on the women's side and be there day in, day out. Really super excited about our staff and our team. And I think we're going out to try and win the division. There's no doubt about it.
We always touch on the men's side with the development piece just because it's been around longer. So we've been able to see these young men grow into professionals like Micah Thomas, like a Keegan Anslin. I think you have some pretty exciting news for us today to reveal about some of the players that were previously on last summer's team.
Yeah. Well, another exclusive, I suppose. So we've been working quite hard behind the scenes. We don't just want to be there for the players pre-college or as they're in college. We want to also be there for them after college as well. And a lot of them speak to me about their desires to play real professional soccer. So with my network back in the UK, we've managed to secure opportunities for two of our players, Lizanne Fogarty and Sarah Bruner, to go and spend a week in London next week, actually, with Crystal Palace, who are a British Super League team, the equivalent of the NWSL. They're going to train there and play a game for them next week. And they're also going to spend time at Portsmouth Football Club, a little bit further down south. Portsmouth are in the Championship, one division below. They're going to have a fantastic week. They're going to have an unbelievable experience. And it's going to lead into their dreams of obviously playing real professional soccer when the time comes. So we never know. We may have them in the summer and we may not.
Who would have known that the man with the podcast has the most interesting answers for all his questions? We're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we'll talk some NWSL as the season gets started up this weekend. And I know you're excited about Champions League.
I am.
Lots of Champions League talk, lots going on in the global soccer sphere. And we'll be right back after these break.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with we Armada rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is home. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
Get local sports on demand with Action Sports Jacks 24/7. All sports, all local, all the time. From the locker room to the field, the Jacks, high school football, the Jacksonville Armada, and don't forget, the Brett and Austin Show. They're all in on Trevor. Of course. Download the Action News Jacks Now app, available wherever you stream or at actionnewsjacks.com. TV, phone, laptop, desktop. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. Jacksonville sports, all the time.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
This is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, sponsored by a live credit union.
Getting started this weekend, but it kind of got started last weekend with the Orlando Pride and the Washington Spirit facing off in the NWSL Challenge Cup. It's the winners of the league and the cup. Washington come away with it, get some revenge on Orlando after losing in the final of the 2024 NWSL Championship. I kind of wanted to touch on first, Goughy. You've seen the evolution of soccer not only across the globe, but specifically in the women's area in the United States. How crucial do you think was that jump start ahead over some of these other international countries by having this college setup already here in the States?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge, honestly. I think outside of America, people don't really realize the value of the college network and how it produces players for the professional game. And even the college game, the college network has evolved in recent years as well. Like, I honestly think, it was 30, 40 years ago when Title IX, came in and actually changed the landscape of women's sport here in the United States. But now we're seeing major benefits of that investment. Even if the legacy clubs are in Britain, they're in Spain, they're in Germany, I get it. But I would say they are still 20, 30 years behind the US in terms of the youth pathways and the youth setup that is there. So I think, what a start! What a start, mate! What a game to start with! What a year for the league! Like it's one of those times where I think, I was in it in 2017 and it was still fledgling then. We were still hoping that the league would continue. Now I don't think we're in that space anymore. Where we're certainly not. But back in 2017, fans would follow players. They would follow individuals. If an individual was traded, they would change their allegiance and go and follow another club. Now I think we're seeing fans follow clubs, and that's when the real stuff starts. And the NWSL has gone from strength to strength. Look, I don't think it's comparative in terms of tactical level to the UEFA Champions League on the women's side, but certainly to any other domestic league in the world, it probably is on par. And it's getting better and better in that respect. We're starting to see young college players that should go to college bypass college altogether now and come directly to the league. We had Kennedy Fuller, who played for the US in the recent Under-17s World Cup, scored against us actually in the third place playoff. Not that I'm still holding the grudge. Top player, wonderful kid. Just scored, scores from midfield, just goals. Plays for Angel City. Didn't even go to college. Decommitted from North Carolina of all places. So, that's unheard of. That's an unheard of story, but it'll happen more and more as we go. So, what a way to start the league. What a two heavyweights going at it. And that one thing's for sure, mate. This year, the Pride, everyone's coming for the Pride. That's definitely going to be the case.
Goughy, I'll kind of ask you: is that what the NWSL needs to do to maybe catch up to those top tier European teams? Is get more of those players to skip college? As weird as that sounds, right? You think about sports in the United States; it's very very much you go to high school, you go to college, you go to the pros. But some sports, it's just not that way. It's not that way in global soccer. I mean, you've seen it with the NBA to where guys are playing, the really good guys are playing 1 year, at most. But now we're getting more guys out of Europe because those are the guys who aren't going to college. So is that kind of the path forward for the NWSL is investing in and finding that younger and younger talent here in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. It's a really interesting time because I'm fully aware, like I spent time in Arkansas, I know you, as I said, and football is king. And, I'm really conscious of how high school recruits into college and college prepares you for the draft or for the NFL or the NBA or whatever it is. So I do understand that. It is a bit different in soccer. It is. Like when you think about those key development years, called it kind of 18 to 22, the NCAA rules could be a little bit conciliatory and they could be a little bit prohibitive in terms of how much soccer they can actually play, how much the coaches can work with them. I think the difference is that in the major European clubs and the British clubs, those players are getting more than 40 hours a week of contact time, coaching time, teaching time, game time, whereas it's limited in the NCAA to 20 hours a week and some parts of the year, 8 hours a week. So that doesn't necessarily lend itself to the development of the holistic individual. And it's a world market now. The players coming out of college are trying to play in top teams, and the NWSL is signing great players from around the world. But it's also going the other way, mate. You know, Naomi Girm has just left San Diego away for Chelsea. First $1 million defender we've ever seen. You know, it's not that we're looking outside of America anymore at what everyone else is doing right. We're clearly doing something right here in our domestic league as well to produce players like that. So I think it's a really interesting time. And maybe for some of the listeners and watchers here, you know, the college model of the traditional sports in America works for those sports. Perhaps it doesn't work as well for soccer. And I think what we're going to see in the next 3 or 4 years, mate, is the NWSL clubs really investing in youth development, under 23 soccer. The difficulty is logistics. You know, how does San Diego Wave and Portland Thorns play against the Orlando Pride at under 23 level or under 19 level? You know, it's a huge country. It's a 2 flights, if you like, or a charter jet. It's not as easy as just setting up a league and playing at the youth development level. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, I'm going to get to your European CONCACAF Champions League, but we got to talk about CONCACAF Champions Cup first.
There's so many cups, man. There's so many different things.
I want to touch on it just because we're getting down to the weeds of it. We had a couple of MLS teams go through against some big Liga MX teams. Vancouver takes down Sergio Ramos and Monterrey at home. Gets it done. LA Galaxy last night beat Costa Rican team Herediano 4-1 to put the scoreline back in their favor. They lost 1-0.
Yeah, those are my guys. Unbelievable.
I know. They originally were up 1-0. So the Galaxy gets their first win of 2025 through the Champions Cup, mind you. Still 0-3 in MLS. Tonight you have Messi going and visiting Jamaica, so you know that will be chaos and pandemonium in Kingston. Over 35,000 people at the National Stadium. I'm sure you've seen some of the news come out of there.
I've been getting texts all day from everybody over there, mate, telling me how amazing it is, pictures with Messi, and people just excited for it. I think from my perspective, I watched the season opener for Inter Miami. I sat down, made a point to watch that. I saw Messi and Suarez doing the thing for obviously Inter Miami, and as I say, the MLS is getting stronger, going from strength to strength. I think, me, I'm a LA Galaxy fan, going back to the days of David Beckham. I'm the world's biggest David Beckham fan, by the way, if you didn't know that. But when Beckham came over to the Galaxy the first time round was my first kind of interaction with the MLS and watching the league. And obviously, Gerrard coming a little later on. So I always want to see the Galaxy do well. It's exciting. It's really exciting. The broadcast deal with Apple TV is just taking it to another level. I think we're going to see expansion again. Like it's at the level I think now they're going into the MLS Next Pro and they're talking about what they're going to do for the upcoming leagues with it, and it's going to become more of an overarching structure for youth development under 23 level for the men's game as well. It's just a great time for American soccer. Domestically on the club level, it's just a great time.
I just saw Denny Buwanga pop there with LAFC. They won their game as well. I got to touch on, though, with LAFC, and you specifically, what was that Gareth Bale move like in your mind? What was your thought process behind that one?
Well, I'm from a small town called Abertrydydd, right, which is about 10 miles outside of the capital city, Cardiff, and we thought he was going to sign for Cardiff City. Everyone in the world thought he was going to join Cardiff, hometown club. He'd never played there before. We had a bit of a joke with the scouts while I was there at Cardiff. They missed Gareth Bale on the way up. They didn't manage to recruit him, and he was only down the road. He went and signed for Southampton 4 hours away. But Bale needed to play. It was the big. We hadn't qualified for the World Cup in 60 years. His season had ended. He needed soccer. You couldn't just roll into the World Cup without training and playing competitively. And the English season wouldn't have done that. The timings weren't right. The MLS was, and he joined. He actually scored, didn't he? If you remember was it the final?
Yep, it was the final.
Goal in the final.
It was the final.
I mean, I don't think he gets enough praise. And I was joking with you guys before off air. I'm only going to the Players' Championship at Sawgrass tomorrow in the hope that he'll be there with my little Wales flag, because I don't think he gets enough praise, man. He's won 4 Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. He's played all around the world. He scored winning goals wherever he's been. He's scored in the World Cup for Wales. If this man is not the next name after Ronaldo and Messi, I don't know. So. Yeah, wonderful. I was supporting him then. I watched the game live, the final, and he just shows up in the big moments. And the more and more those clips are being beamed around the world. Lots of people back home were talking to me about it. Obviously, when Bale goes there, there's a bit more of a European interest. It's all kind of come as a crescendo. I think, 20 years ago, I think you could have looked at the MLS, and even 30 years ago, you could have looked at it with the penalties they had and the goalkeepers rushing out, and there was a bit of a scoff going on in terms of what's happening over there. But nowadays, I think it's outside of the top 5 European leagues. I think it's the next one people talk about.
Goughy, I'm not going to ask you to handicap the field here at the Players' Championship. I'm not going to ask you to tell me who's going to win on Sunday here in Ponte Vedra Beach. But I will ask you to take a look at the Final 8 when we're talking about the Champions League. What happened to my Dutch teams? They both go out in the round of 16. What are we doing?
Right. I'm ready for this, boys. I'm ready to go in on this.
All right, let's do it.
I'm going in big time on PSG. I'm going in big time, early doors. In recent weeks, I've been thinking a lot about this, right? PSG, for me, are the number one team out there. I think there's an indomitable spirit. There's an indomitable allure about PSG right now. They have a class about the way they go about things. They're industrious. When the tough times come, they meet the moment.
Here's your bracket.
Yeah, I'm going big. I think they're beautiful to watch. I mean, stunning, absolutely stunning. I think Kvaratskhelia and Barcola could be two of the best team players in the world right now in the wide areas. Dembele up front is the icing on the cake. I'm ready, boys. I'm ready. I'm going big. I'm going big time. Look.
There it is.
Olivia.
PSG will win the Champions League final. You watch.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because my little pick for the outside upset was Aston Villa, and they've been doing very well. Stuart, what did you have to say?
I was going to say, we talked so much about the new format this year, right? And I wanted to get Goughy's take on it because it was different. It was very different. We had some teams kind of rising in that early table that were like, wait a second, the heck's this team doing up here? How are they getting wins at this stage of the Champions League? But then you look at this bracket, and what? I mean, 7 of those 8 are, so to speak, blue bloods in the world of March Madness. These are the teams that maybe you'd expect to get to this level. So in the end, it all kind of levels out and the best teams kind of make it to the end.
Look, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this has been a phenomenally good change for the Champions League, right? Change is difficult. Every time you change anything, and sometimes there's examples of change making things worse, right? We had the whole furore with the Super League. I don't know if that made major news here, but whole furore with the Super League a few years back. Fan base is up in arms. You cannot mess with the English football structure, the 92 professional football league clubs, and the divisions below it now. It's been integrated into life and society.
Made it into an episode of Ted Lasso. That's
how
you knew it was.
Well, that's how you know it's big business, isn't it? You can't mess with it, and it's been around for 150 years almost in one way or another. And I think what we've seen here is a great shift. UEFA have capitalised on that moment. Obviously with the sport of FIFA, but ultimately it's UEFA's tournament, and what they've done is they've made it every game hold jeopardy. Every single game. Real Madrid finishing so low in the league, having to go into a qualifier, means now they're playing Atletico Madrid in a knockout game way before they would have before. So, from my perspective, I've been watching it. The group stages were phenomenal. There was barely any dead rubbers. That's exactly what you want from top level elite sport. Every game, every moment mattering, and the quality, the standard of the recent knockout phase. Every single game was right up there with the best you've seen on domestic level.
So can you give me your final 2, and I can kind of guess your winner, I guess. You got PSG winning it all.
I'm going all day in early doors on PSG for sure. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to look at you got the bracket here, sorry. You got the bracket here. I think from the other side of the draw, it's difficult to look past Bayern Munich. I mean, Inter are no mugs, but I watched Bayern take, was it Leverkusen? Yeah, I watched Bayern take Leverkusen apart. Harry Kane, man, I think he raised so many eyebrows when he went to Bayern, and people thinking, is he going to break Shearer's record? Why is he leaving? Why didn't he go to Man United or whatever? Could you imagine? What a decision to go to Bayern Munich. And he didn't win the league or the Champions League last year, but he was still the Golden Boot winner in Germany. And look at him now. The guy's just getting better and better and better. I'm no doubt he'll come back to the Premier League and break Shearer's record, but Bayern Munich, Vincent Kompany doing an unbelievable job. I mean, that guy's got something right, hasn't he? He got relegated with Burnley, and then he gets the Bayern Munich job, and look at him now. So, if the season goes wrong at the Armada, I'm still going to play the Vincent Kompany card and try and come back out stronger on the other side, maybe. Maybe I'll get in Ted Lasso as well, who knows?
Yes, I like it. That should be every soccer person's goal, right? Find a way to get into Ted Lasso. I'm told they're doing another season. They tried to tie up all those loose ends on us, but no, we demand more content when it comes to Ted Lasso. All right, well, just recapping, we've been catching up with the head coach of the Armada women's under-23 team, David Gough. Goughy, as he's known to us and to you. This is the first appearance by Goughy on the show. It will not be the last. Coach, thank you so much for joining us here and talking about your background and about the season to come. We cannot wait. Obviously, schedule announcements, player announcements, all these great things for 2025 and this summer are still to come. And until then, thank you so much for joining us here on the show, Coach.
No, thanks for having me, guys. You do an amazing job. I've listened to the episodes. I think Lewis has blown me away with his knowledge of the MLS, mate. I've been sat at home watching and just thinking to myself, wow, I got up my game here. But no, I think it's a fantastic show and I can't wait to come back.
Coach, you are perfect at segues because that's a terrific segue. Coming up next here on Fleet and Footy, we got Big Lou's Power Rankings. They are coming up. He'll let you know what's been happening in the MLS this past week and a look ahead to what is to come. Plus, of course, we got your weird soccer story of the week. I'm Stuart Webber here at TPC Sawgrass for the players. We got Llerandi and David Gough in studio, coming back with Big Lou for his MLS Power Rankings next, right here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Ancla Dorada. The official bear of your Jacksonville Armada.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jacks, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jacks is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jacks 24/7. People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Hey everyone, Olivia Tasley here from Action Sports Jacks to tell you all the different ways you can watch our new 24/7 network. 3 easy steps. You don't even need a pen and paper to write it down. Step number 1, download the app. Search Action News Jacks in your app store either on your phone or your smart TV. Then, once you're on the app, click on that little drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner with the 3 little lines. That'll show you these options, and boom, right here, click Action Sports Jacks 24/7, and you will be brought to our continuous stream channel. That app can be accessed through all these different platforms. Whether you have Roku, Fire TV, Smart TV, Apple TV, or Google TV, you can find our app. Now, if you don't have access to the app, don't worry, we still got you covered. We're across all social media platforms from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We have a podcast channel. Plus, check out our short reels on our TikTok. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. It's on all the time and everywhere.
This is Fleet and Footy on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, sponsored by Alive Credit Union.
It only took Keegan Anselin a total of 121 seconds to put his team ahead 1-0 over Inter Miami and eventually win this game over in Fort Lauderdale, breaking the MLS Next Pro record for the fastest goal in league history. Reminds me of someone I know not too far down the street, Jamal Johnson. Not quite MLS, but MLS Next Pro. Keegan doing the Armada proud once again. Isn't that amazing to see, Stuart?
Yeah, welcome back to Fleet and Footy here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Stuart Webber here at the stadium course, TPC Sawgrass. Of course, we got lots of players coverage on Action Sports Jacks over the course of this week. We got Llerandi back in studio. First, a big thank you to head coach David Gough of the women's under-23 team for joining us. If you missed it, go back and check out the show on our Action Sports Jacks YouTube page or on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. It'll air again tomorrow here at 2 o'clock. Hey, how long had that record stood, by the way, Lou? It's such a big, prestigious record to break. How long had that record stood?
I want to say for 4 years. The league's been around for what? How many?
Actually, the record stood for like 20 minutes. Somebody had set the record earlier in the night.
No.
With a goal in like 2.5 minutes in. I saw it on social media. Somebody was like, "That's the fastest goal in MLS Next Pro history." And then like 30 minutes later, Keegan Anslin, of course, the former Jacksonville Armada under-23 standout, goes and scores in his debut. That's his pro debut, right?
That is his pro debut. Yep.
Yeah, so really cool moment for him. Obviously, he's on that roster with another former member of the Fleet in Ethan Dudley. So for now, we're rooting for Chattanooga FC when it comes to the MLS Next Pro. I say for now, obviously, because when we have our own team in the MLS Next Pro, we'll root for ourselves. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? So we like to support the guys who spent their time here in Jacksonville and are getting a chance at that professional career at that next level, Lou.
Yeah, Micah Thomas also made an appearance this weekend for Crown Legacy. Ethan Dudley came off the bench later in that game for Chattanooga, and Mason Tunbridge wins USL League One Player of the Week.
Ah, nice. He's been really doing well at that level.
He's been on fire as well. Yeah, it's been nice to see these guys grow out of our program and into the pros.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so we've got less than 10 minutes to go here on the show. As mentioned, we're in different places, but you know what? We got to give you the staples, folks. We got to give you the stuff that you crave, the stuff that you come to the show each and every week for. And I think number one amongst those things, it's Big Lou's Power Rankings.
Oh, I like that we're starting to look forward to it.
Yes, we are, man. I mean, Goughy was talking about your MLS knowledge, the fact that you're poring over the tape. You are analyzing each and every day. And look, you're going to see a lot of movement on these power rankings each and every week is what I'm seeing, at least early in the season, right? Early in the season, except for one team that stays exactly where it was. Lou, who's our number one team right now?
Well, the number one team is Inter Miami. I had the pleasure to watch that game live. It really wasn't a fantastic game. Inter Miami get a win at home with 10 men, their third red card in their last 3 matches. They do it over Charlotte FC, who I think really struggled against that low block of Miami after they scored their first goal. It's kind of like Charlotte's MO. They like to counter on the low block and use Zaha, Lil Abada, and others to counter. Seattle, this doesn't affect my ranking if I rank them in CONCACAF Champions Cup because they lost, but they've been flying in the league. But Philly Union, maybe the team that I've slept on the most this year, has been creeping up and up and up in my power rankings. Now all the way up to 3.
Hashtag Dupe, right? Don't they say Dupe?
Yep.
Is that a thing? Yeah.
Ty Aribo, the Israeli striker, 3 games, 6 goals. He's currently in the lead for the Golden Boot. Cincinnati's made some great signings. I think they'll be one of the top teams in the East to look out for. LAFC, a couple drop points that were really disappointing. Columbus Crew, once again, kind of like an LAFC, we're thinking they were going to be able to sustain their success from last year. Haven't been quite able to. Vancouver, who's been flying in CONCACAF Champions Cup, has also been...
But we don't count that. We don't
talk about that. Has also been flying in the league. Brian White has 3. Guy's been there for quite a long time. They have such a weird attack, but it's working out for them out west. Minnesota... former NASL team.
That's right. I remember when we used to play Minnesota back in the day.
Yep, making the rankings for the first time this year, as well as San Diego. I finally bit the bullet and put the expansion team in there, which is always tough because you never know how they're going to do. Crack the top 10. And Charlotte drop a couple spots just because of that loss to Miami, but they really didn't play that bad. I still think they're a really exciting team, and the Southeast is still hot with all those cool signings that all these teams made.
You love San Diego, don't you?
It's a really interesting
Snapdragon
team.
Stadium.
It's a really interesting team. Chucky Lozano is injured, so that'll be interesting to see how they deal with that over the summer. As mentioned before, Miami can still win without Messi.
We got takeaways. We got takeaways here.
That 10-man win was without the GOAT on the field. They got taken care of, 1-0 win. Philly's on fire. Like I mentioned, Tyrebo, period, because he has been just crazy good this year up front for the dupe. I like that you mentioned that. That is true. They do call themselves the dupe. Western Conference underdogs doing wonderful. That San Jose team, who I didn't really have too much confidence in with their two big slow strikers, are doing all right. Vancouver, another one that I didn't think would do fantastically, is doing great. And Minnesota, you could rope them in there with San Diego as attacks that I really didn't think have enough punch, but have been getting it done. Will we see tired legs next week? I know I've been mentioning CONCACAF Champions Cup so much. It's because a lot of these MLS teams are involved, and they play these games midweek, whether that be away in the Caribbean, in Mexico, Costa Rica, wherever. So are we going to see more tired legs this week? And I think that kind of rolls into number 5, which I know the MLS roster rules restrict where you can spend your money. So most of these teams spend their money on the attack, but these MLS defensive have got to get better. They really have gotten better year over year. You're starting to see a lot more defensive signings, a lot better goalkeeper signings. But man, I've seen a lot of blunders these past 3 weeks where I just think that might just take this league to the next level and really cement that as a top 10 league in the world.
Lou, I got to call you out here on number 5. Where is this show originating? Are we in the United States or are we?
Yeah, this is bad, Lou.
Wait, where did I?
Lou, I gotta.
Where's the typo?
Are we doing this show in the U.S. or the U.K., Lou?
Answer the question, Lou.
The U.S. I'm trying to see my typo.
The fact that he doesn't see it might be worse.
Defenses?
I'll allow you to provide your own defense.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that is bad. That is bad.
Come on.
That's bad.
At least you didn't throw like an extra U in like the word savor. Wild like that. All right, we'll clean that up for next week. Lou, I think Lou had tired legs when he put this thing together. Maybe that's
we had a MLS Next ID clinic last night. Was up late putting it down. But you can sign up for
tired Lou.
You can sign up for the next one very soon. Look at for social media. It'll be the last one of the year. So keep your eyes peeled.
All right, before we get into the weird soccer story of the week, we hardly touched on the academy team. What do we got this weekend? You said we got a home game, right?
Yeah, it's a home game. I believe it's against Chargers. It starts early. I think we got games at 8:30, 10:30, and 12:30. So if you want to make it out to Patton Park this weekend to watch some Armada soccer, come out.
All right, we'll have recaps of that coming up for you next week. Lou, I'm going to let you set up our weird soccer story of the week. What do we got?
So, Jason, let me just kind of explain it, I guess, before you play the video, because I really want everyone to listen to the video. This a screenshot went around X this week about a list of wrong anthem incidents, and one from 2014 came up from a international friendly game between the country of Slovakia and the country of Malta. And instead of Malta's national anthem being played, the first few seconds of Linkin Park's Numb was played. Jason, could you pull that one up for us?
Oh man, that's tremendous. That's just great. Did they get to the real song? There it is. Okay. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, they got to the real song at least. Lou,
they did.
That's important. So in the end, it really doesn't matter.
In my research.
Wow. Nice.
Come on, Linkin Park.
I get it. In my research of looking at weird anthem anomalies, there was also a soccer game played at one point where the country of Kazakhstan's national anthem was played incorrectly, and it was played the Borat's Kazakhstan national anthem.
No.
Yes.
Yes. That is not very nice.
Yes. Not for TV. Not for TV.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, that's pretty good weird soccer story of the week. I like it.
Thank you.
Shout out to Malta. I don't know. Maybe Lincoln Park is big in Malta. Who knows?
Doubt
I enjoyed the player reaction to it, certainly. So good stuff there. Lou, thank you. That was a good weird soccer story of the week.
Thanks to you for joining us away, and thank you guys for joining us live on Fleet and Footy.
All right, that's it for the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. We'll see you next week.